Hello, hello, everyone. We are live. Hopefully, you all have been having a good day. I know that today's been a fun one for me. And also, I'm wearing Rose's shirt here because The Devil in the Detail music video is literally coming out right now, but I'm doing this live and I'll be watching it as soon as this live is done. So I'm super excited about that. Super excited about my live. Hello, hello, everyone. Super excited. Today's just a good day. I use this song to get me in the right headspace for my lives. So it's kind of fun that it's coming out right at the same time as my lives. Let's see if we can get Jen on. For those of you that have not followed Jen, she also does very similar lives to mine. I got to be on hers, which was a lot of fun. And so you should definitely go follow her and check her out. She also has YouTube and a lot of other things we'll probably talk about today. Get her on. Let's see if I can adjust my chair where I need to be.
Hey,
Hello, how are you?
good. How are you? My head's cut off. There.
Yeah, I was like, I need to adjust myself a little bit. There we go. Perfect. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's been like a rainy day, so catching up on stuff in the house. Yeah, but it's fun because we had like two insane sunny, like 40-degree weather days, and I'm like, it's so hot.
Yeah, it's not raining here, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a beautiful day. Like we had some extreme heat here, and then we had like a huge rainstorm, and then like the temperature's been like decent. Like I walk outside, I'm like, this forever, please.
Right? I know rain last night kind of cooled it off, but it's like it's gonna go back up. Canada can't make up its mind what it wants to be. It likes to kill you some days, then it's like, okay, we'll give you a little bit of relief. And then it kills you again, and then a little bit of relief.
Yeah, see, I would be like the Canadian geese where like I migrate south
Yeah,
because I can't do like the Canadian winters,
yeah,
but like Canada during the summer just looks beautiful up there and I definitely want to visit. I have a passport, I just need the world to normalize so I can travel again.
right? It's getting there, Ben. It's getting there. Did you get your second? Do you guys? Yeah, you have two vaccines in the States, right? Did you
Yeah.
get the second one?
Yeah, I got my second one 2 days before I moved here. And I was like, all my friends were telling me how they had like these horrible side effects and they were like knocked out for a day. And I was like, oh, I can't be knocked out. I need to be able to move and
Yeah,
pack the U-Haul, unpack, get ready.
yeah.
And thankfully, I was not impacted by it. Like, I had like a minor headache, but the vaccines didn't negatively impact me.
I think I don't know if my headache was because of the vaccine, or if I just had a headache. Um, the temperature changes and stuff can cause headaches too. But yeah, all I had after the vaccine, and then maybe like a tiny little sore arm. But I get my second vaccine. You have to wait 28 days, so I get it like mid-July. So then I'll be like, yes.
Yeah, the trick for mine, I think, was just like I bought like four huge like adult Pedialytes,
Okay.
and I was just like chugging them because like I heard that if you stayed super hydrated,
Yeah.
it would just like because I
Yeah.
had people tell me like taking like Advil and stuff would be
Yeah.
bad, but the doctor told me that was fine. So I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? I'll just hydrate and I'll be fine.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing. Like when you go to like you don't have kids, but when you take to get vaccines, they always tell you to give them like Tylenol like half an hour before you take them for the vaccine. So that's what I always did with my kids because it just lessens the effects of like the pain and everything following it. But yeah, if it's like really bad, I know you can rotate. I'm not giving medical advice, people. I know you can give like rotate Tylenol and Advil if it's like really bad, because one's an anti-inflammatory and one's a painkiller, right? Even though they both kill pain, they're two different drugs. So I've learned all those tricks from five kids. Hi.
I did not know that you had five kids.
Yeah, my oldest just turned 17 this week. It's insane.
I I saw that you posted about his birthday on your page. That's really awesome. I
Yeah,
was like, wow, five. That's
yeah,
crazy. I would have never guessed. Like, you don't look like you're aging from being a parent. I feel like as soon as like my nephew was born, like grays started sprouting out, and I'm like, woo, this is aging me pretty fast.
but I just dyed my hair, okay?
Love it. Well, I'll let you introduce yourself so people
Sure,
kind of know who you are, and then
sure.
we can kind of jump into our discussion.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's John Gardiner. Previously Scott. You can find me both on the internet. I have been an entrepreneur going on 18 years now. I am a cake artist. Besides being an entrepreneur, that's how I became an entrepreneur, as well as I am a Canadian actress, which started in the past 4 years. So basically, Jill of all trades. If I throw in everything else, I can tell you throughout that journey. uh, as mentioned, I have 5 children and am married and live in Canada, where Mother Nature is very fickle.
Oh, that's awesome. So like I just jumped into the entrepreneur world too. So like I guess I've kind of been doing it for a while since I've been doing it as like a side hustle, but I've jumped on board to just make that my full time. So we'll definitely have to stay in contact because I might have questions for you. I know that like we met through KJ and like talking to her, she's just like a wealth of information and also like this big old punch of positivity when you need it.
Yeah, I usually have people come to me for like the tech stuff. So I've decided now, because I have so many people asking about the same things, that I'm going to film tutorials and then put them up on my YouTube. Then when somebody goes, John, how do you do this? I'm like, oh, I have a video for that. Here you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because of my YouTube platform, like I dove into tech way earlier than any job required me to.
Yeah.
So the tech aspect, like when I was talking to my coach, when it came to like starting my business and having a coach kind of guide me, I didn't even realize that my tech skills like put me above a lot of other people because I didn't need to pay people to do my tech stuff. It was just like, oh, that's a skill that I can sell and use to my advantage. So
Yeah.
it's really important to like take note of what you have. Sometimes asking other people to tell you, because a lot of times we don't realize because we've got it already and we use it every day. We don't realize that that's a sellable skill.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes too, though, it gets us stuck. And that's when you kind of have to take a step back and be like, okay, I know how to do all these things, but what do I need to start outsourcing here to free me up to do the more like profitable things, right? So I've started doing that. So I have like a part-time VA that helps me now do like the stuff that I don't need to physically hands-on do, even though I know how to do. Otherwise, no time, right? Having 5 kids is like a full-time job itself. Yeah. It's like, where's Jen now? Oh, she's here. Oh, she's dropping her person up here. Oh, she's there. Oh, she's there. So it's great to be able to start knowing how to do all those things, because then you can also create tutorials for people that you might then outsource things to, which is something that I wish I had started doing sooner, is making those tutorials, because when you get to that point of, okay, now I have the budget to do that, it's like, okay, here's the system, here's the tutorial, here I can hand it off.
Yeah, I've been this week and last week I've been like tuning into Jay Shetty's like entrepreneur class that he's giving out for free right now. And there, like a big talk was like in the beginning, like more likely you're going to be doing a lot of it by yourself.
Right.
But as you start to grow, you need to learn how to be like, okay, what am I in this business? Like, what is my role and what things can I hand off to people? Because those things are taking up my time from doing what my role is technically supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like, as a content creator, as a life coach, like that's what I want to be doing. I want to create content and coach people. And I don't want to do all the business side. It's a journey and it's a lot to learn and it's fun, but that's not what I want to spend my time doing. So like trying to divide all of that and section it off so I know when I can hand those off to people once I get to that point is really important.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, my kids, I just saw them pop on here. Hi, guys.
Love it.
My kids pop onto all my lives. It's kind of funny, Ben. So they're watching your live right now.
Yeah, perfect. See, you've already got fans. You've got them built in already. So.
But yeah, it's so good. Like I said, you know how to do that stuff, and it's so good that you're learning to eventually delegate, because that's such a hard thing for some people to do, is to learn when to just like back off and delegate things. And that can be a lot of people so stuck being an entrepreneur because they're trying to do all the things because they don't want to hand something off. And I used to be that way, like, no, I'll just do it. I'll just do it. I'll just do it. Then it's like, okay, I can't do it all. Like,
Yeah.
what are like the top 4 things that I actually need to do that I can't hand off? And what are the other things that can hand off? So, but I love that you're starting to learn that stuff because
Yeah.
it's still set on its own, people.
One thing that I also like feel like you would probably understand as well is like all the things that you do on a daily basis that no one ever sees because it's not the product that you are putting out for the world. But everything, like even these lives, like there's a lot that goes into things like this.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people see the end product and they're just like, oh my God, that's what I want to do. And they see the finished product and they're just like, wow, that's so fun and so easy. And I'm like, like my whole life is like a constant ongoing project with 1,000 different things going on at once. And having to learn that, I didn't realize how much like I was slowly bringing in more new things after I had formed habits around things that I enjoyed doing to kind of make it all operate smoother. And I mean, you can see like I've got hundreds of books all over the place that I've read and gained little pieces, and I joined seminars and all of those things to just learn more because this is what I really want to be doing.
Exactly. And that's the thing is you have to keep learning, right? So I am like shiny object. Oh, sorry. I have a thing on my finger because I got a mosquito bite. So
Love it.
Somebody asked. But you have to keep learning, and that's how you like. How else do you know how to do things if you don't keep doing that? And a lot of people dive into things not knowing what's involved without learning all those things like you are, and then they get stuck or they get frustrated and then they quit. So if you're going to dive into something and you really want to do that something, you have to make the time to learn the skills instead of just like diving in full force. And that's not to say that there isn't something in taking action. Of course, take action, but at the same time, watch a tutorial on it. Hello, YouTube.
Yeah. Jen's got some great ones coming out soon.
But it's just like we live in a time right now where there's such a wealth of information that you can find pretty much a tutorial on anything. And if you want to dive into something and you want to learn something and you really want to do something, then just take the time to research it and then take action. I have a bad habit of diving sometimes without taking action, and then I'm sitting there like learning a new program. I'm like, this is so frustrating. And then I go watch a mini tutorial. I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. And then like if I reverse that, I would save myself so much time. So tip for you.
Oh gosh, yeah. I jumped ahead when it came to like finding a server that could send out like emails for me, and I paid for it. And I was just like super excited about using it. And when I like got it downloaded and dove in, like I had no clue what I was doing. It was so foreign to me. And I was just sitting there and I was just like, oh my God, I'm paying this much a month for this and I have no clue how to use it. How do I utilize it? And I was like allowing myself to like slap myself and just being like, you're stupid. Why did you do this? But then I was just like, YouTube video, let's watch it. And literally someone sat there and they broke it down into multiple videos. So like I didn't have to watch like a 2-hour video to learn the whole platform. I could just click on the ones that I felt would be like, pertaining to what I wanted to use that platform for. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so easy. So like I'm very thankful for YouTubers that put it out there. And when people think, oh, there's already someone that did it, realize that we're all different learners. And the way one YouTuber might create a tutorial won't work for certain people. So definitely never believe that there's already stuff out there. Don't do it. Like if you see it, then do it, because there's someone out there that will learn better from the type of content you create versus someone else's.
I love that you're bringing this up because there's something that I wanted to talk to you about that I knew that you had great input on. Okay. So like in every industry, and this came up in another YouTube video this week and it got me like really fired up. I'm like, oh, why? So there's so many people that always go, oh, only 1% of you are going to make it in this, or only 1% of you get to do this, or you have to go up these certain steps in order to get here. And I love that you just said that, because there's not one way to do things. There's not one way to get there. And it drives me freaking insane when people say this to people, because if you don't have a strong enough mindset, you buy into their bullcrap, right?
Yeah. I feel like those statements are made to like keep a certain amount of people down.
Yeah.
And the people who are brave enough to hear that and be like, well, you know what? I don't believe that. Or, you know what? I am the 1% that will make it. But the honest truth is, like, if you work towards it and don't give up, because the 1% they're talking about are people who have learned to never give up.
Yeah.
And that percentage can grow. Like that 1% can become 100% if
Yeah.
everyone learns that there's no limit to the amount of people. Like as YouTubers, like I've learned that
Yeah.
you can be a celebrity to your fans and your following, and then be a nobody to the person standing next to you at a grocery store. So like never allow people to tell you that what you want to do with your life, not very many people are successful, because everything you do in life will get hard.
Yeah.
And might as well be doing something you love and are passionate about, because when that gets hard, your
Yeah.
passion's just going to like push you through those hard places, and it's going to like make it so much easier. Whereas like people who are like, I'm going to become a doctor because that's what my parents told me to do.
Right.
I honestly don't want a doctor operating on me that did it because their parents told them to do it. I would prefer my doctor to be doing it because they are interested in saving lives, and that's what pulling them through is their passion for saving lives.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody just said a true optimist view. It's not even optimist, it's realism. Because think of construction. Okay, so when construction puts up a roadblock, you no longer can go that way, but you can go different routes to get to the same destination, right? So it's not technically optimism, it's realism too, knowing that there's not one way to get to a certain destination. Yes, it's positive thinking, but it's also realism. And I hate when people say that's dreamer thinking, because it's not. It's realistic thinking. Look at all the advances in technology. Look at all the advances in medicine. If people went one direction constantly, there wouldn't be advances in technology and medicine and all these things that we have today. So yes, it's positive thinking, but it's also realistic thinking. And we just have to figure out the path that works for us. And sometimes when you're not getting somewhere too, which is a good topic to also touch on with you, is because we're trying to do all the things at once.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I want to do this, so I gotta learn this, I gotta learn this, I gotta learn this, and I gotta learn this. It's like juggling, right? So you may be able to start really good with like one ball and get really good at that one ball, and then somebody tosses you another ball in, okay? And then you're sort of struggling because you've never had this second ball in there, and it takes a little bit for you to get used to that. So if you're going a new direction like Ben and you're trying to learn all the things, sometimes you have to learn one aspect of that thing first, get good at that, then add in the second thing, then get good at that, then add in the third thing. And yeah, it's a quote from Sweet Home Alabama: "You can't ride two horses with one ass, sugar bee." Right?
Yeah. I think I am constantly telling people that, like, so many people see what I'm currently doing, which
Yeah.
is a lot of different things. But
Yeah.
what they don't realize is that I started at one place, and that's where I focused all my energy.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where it came so naturally to me that I could add another project on, and it didn't add any stress to my life, because you could literally tell me right now, okay, you're going live in 5 minutes with a complete stranger. Are you ready? And I'll be like, yes, let's do it. I don't need planning for that. But if you told me, okay, we're going to learn a new program, I'm going to download it on your computer, get ready to use it, I'd be like, okay, do we have enough time to watch some YouTube videos on this? And
Yeah.
I slowly add new things to it. Like, I would never download like 10 different platforms to try to learn in a day. I mean, even Clubhouse became an app that I was like, okay, how can I utilize this? At first, I was just doing different rooms and joining places because I wanted to learn more. But then I started to like narrow it down and figure out how I wanted to use that platform to kind of send my message out to the world. And that's kind of how I've always done my platforms. Like, I'll slowly kind of play around with it, figure it out. Because like nothing's going to be perfect in the beginning, and you can't expect everything to run. Like when you're learning, I would never want to be like, okay, I'm going to learn how to use YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse, TikTok, Patreon, like all of those, and be like, I'm starting today and I'm starting them all right now. That would overwhelm me instantly because
Yeah.
they all operate very differently. And if your brain doesn't know how to do any of them, like you're going to end up quitting because it just overwhelmed you with too much information.
Yeah. So that was me. I started all the platforms as soon as they came out. They didn't all come out luckily at the same time, but it was like, oh, I should be on this. I should be on this. I should be on this. And then now it's like, okay, I can't be on everything. Okay, so I still have my accounts and everything, but what I did is I put up a post that basically says, I'm not active here. Come find me here. And so instead of getting rid of my account, because there's still people on that platform that might be looking for me, I just basically told them where I'm actually active. Because I can't be on all the platforms like you're saying. It's too much. There's like, oh man, and Instagram just keeps adding new features, and social media is like, it can become a full-time job in itself, right? And learning new software, Ben, come on, like you've never downloaded Creative Cloud and wanted to like dive in onto all the programs? Come on.
There are so many on that one. I'm just like, whoo, like a 15-second video for me, like in like After Effects or like anything like that. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, like that 15-second video took me like 3 days to like learn how to do it and make it to where I was like satisfied with the product to say, hey, this is my first attempt. What you think? So it's definitely a big, and the nice thing is like, it's not like all of these things don't add to your toolkit later. Because like later there might be another video editing software that I jump on. And because I've learned all this stuff in the past, this one comes easier to me now, but it's still a learning curve that I have to set myself up for success.
Exactly. It's like After Effects, oh my God, Ben, I haven't even touched on After Effects yet. I've just started with Premiere Pro, and I almost got enough down where I'm like, okay, I feel comfortable using this as my main one, but I still revert back to like Adobe Premiere Elements because it's such a simpler program for editing. But now some of the stuff I'm getting into for video editing on my own, I can't just use that one. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'm going to learn new software. Okay, people. So I went on a Udemy course that walks through all like the After Effects and Premiere Pro, and I'm like just watching the different lessons on the different aspects of editing. So
yeah. So one thing that I think is really cool is that you also do like acting. And one thing that I found, so I jumped into some acting with some friends that they needed male actors because they couldn't find a lot. And one thing I'll say is like being a YouTuber doesn't make you a good actor. Like acting is hard. And it is not like the amount of things. I enjoyed the experience because I was also like asking like the sound people what they're doing with the sound, the camera people with like how they like file everything to like use later and how they know which shots they're going to need and all the visual planning that goes into it and like connecting with all the people on the set, because I think that is really important. And jumping into video editing and being an actor on the other side of the camera, I think adds to what you know that you need to do, because you're like, okay, this is what they're trying to get. So like, I know what I'm going to have to do in front of the camera. But like, if you don't know both sides, like you don't understand what they're telling you to do, because you're like, I don't understand why this is so important. But like, all of that is so interesting to look into.
Yeah, if you are editing videos constantly, which we have to do sometimes for auditions, like we're not cutting clips and stuff, we're just doing basic editing to send off to the casting director because they want like one full scene. But when you start learning how to edit other videos and you see how you're looking on camera and stuff, and you see what's selling and you see what's not selling, and it's great to learn for being on set too, doing that video editing. Because if you don't understand what your face is selling like and you haven't watched back your videos, then it's hard to kind of understand what you're doing here, because there's a big difference between like comedy, which is like full like screen, right? Where you can be bigger or drama where you're like really up close here. You can't react the same way. And then when you go back and edit videos, you can see that like, okay, so you're trying to sell this emotion, but you need to do a little bit less, and you need to do a little bit less, right? Because you're so close, you don't need to do a ton, right? And that's the great thing, is when you learn all the different jobs of being on set, even behind the scenes of editing, then you pick up all that stuff and it makes you a better actor, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that like the pandemic has made, because I know that before a lot of like the auditions were like in person type of auditions. And then like it
Yeah.
was interesting to kind of see all the actresses and actors that reached out to content creators to help them edit stuff to send out, because they were realizing that,
Yeah.
hey, I can't just send a poor quality video in, because this is how they're now viewing all of us. And when you look at a high quality, crisp film that was sent in versus, hey, I took this in the
Yeah.
yellow light, dim lit living room of my home, didn't even think about opening a window for some natural light.
Right.
Like when you sit there and you scroll through time after time videos, it's just like, wow, okay, so this one stood out because it was, and it's not even really important for actors and actresses to have that type of quality, but when you're presenting yourself that way, it's like, wow, this one stood out.
Yeah.
This one looks like they didn't care enough to try to make it look good.
Yeah, oh my gosh, self-tape. I prefer self-taping to in-person auditions only because I like to watch back my stuff to see how it sold. I keep knocking my camera. I swear there's not an earthquake. um, it's just my preference because of the whole perfectionist syndrome, that I like watching back my stuff to see how it sold. But at the same time, I've also taken the time to invest in different equipment for here too, right? Like I have 2 full light kits, plus I have some other mini lights for counter stuff. I have an overhead C-stand if I want to do an upper angle if I'm practicing for camera angles for stuff, or I want to throw a light above me for some more dramatic lighting. I have a video camera. I have different mics. I'm looking at all my stuff here. I have a wireless mic now. Like I've invested in all those things, but sometimes people don't have the budget to do that. So then it's learning the different tips to make your video the best it can be with what you have. Like even like we're talking, do you have an iPhone?
Yes.
Okay, so even like iPhones, they have really good mics, and like they have good sound quality, and they have good cameras now. Like my camera on my iPhone is better than the one I have here right now. So sometimes I will actually use it for filming 4K video for doing stuff. But it's also learning, okay, so if you don't have an external mic, say like a shotgun mic or a lavalier mic, you can throw blankets down and up on the walls and stuff to reduce the echo in the room. Like that's a tip that a lot of people won't do for their auditions, or even like their video quality we're doing right now. Like I've got blankets underneath me, which is why I keep knocking my stool and things go wrong. But it reduces the echo, and so it's learning little tips like that of how you can up your game without having to spend a lot if you don't have the budget to do so. Like you said, getting in front of a window too, right? And when we say get in front of a window, you want to be facing the window. You don't want to deal with backlighting. I've been dealing with backlighting in my cake videos, and oh, that's fun.
There's just a lot of things that people learn. And I mean, this is stuff I've learned over years of doing it. And people criticize you for things in videos when you upload them online, and I always look at it as an opportunity to get better. Like people have said, like, it's very echoey in your room, and it was true. I lived in a basement where like the tile and everything, and I didn't have a lot in there, so like it was echoing all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like putting up the blankets, people are like, because it sometimes you just have to like make the U shape around your camera to where they can't see it in the like camera here, but it's around the camera so that when you're speaking to it, like the sound just kind of stays in that area.
Right.
So like there's so many different things that you can do to like get better at what you were doing.
Yeah.
And it takes people, like you actually sometimes have to do it and make a mistake and fail, if you'd like to call it a failure in that way, but fail to where someone can point out, hey, you can get better. And sometimes you also have to learn how to ask for help, which I'm very bad at. But you have to ask for help and just be like, hey, I love your videos. Like, how do you get your
Yeah.
videos to like have that great of quality?
Yeah.
And most of the time, content creators and other people love to just give you that information because
Yeah.
it's something they're passionate about and just want to share.
Like I was having the issue with my iPhone. I wanted an external mic. For the life of me, I could not find one. So I messaged Charlotte Dayish. She's another actress because I always see in her Instagram live she has a lavalier mic and she's using an iPhone and she can still hear the other person. I'm like, are you using earbuds? She's like, no, I just bought a mic. I'm like, so I tried buying the one you want. Like I talked too fast. My mouse didn't catch up to my brain. Okay, so I bought the one that she used and it wouldn't work with my iPhone. And I tried like 3 others and it just wouldn't work. And I just finally gave up. I'm like, okay, this is the quality that it's going to be on Instagram Live. But she was so like eager to like share. So that's a good tip there is just ask people. The worst they can do is ignore you and say no. And then you just ask somebody else. So
Yeah. And another thing is just like for the Clubhouse app, like people always talk about, well, I can't find these rooms where you're talking about this type of stuff. And I'm like, well, then start it yourself.
yeah.
Like, there have been so many times where like I have questions about YouTube and I will literally start a Clubhouse room
Mm.
saying questions and answers for people who want to start a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And that actually attracts experts as well as people who want to learn.
Yeah.
And experts will just jump up on stage and
Yeah.
volunteer wealth of information. And like things like that exist everywhere. Like the Jay Shetty thing that I've been doing this week, that's been free. Of
Yeah.
course, they're also pitching something on the back ends to like go further in and more in depth and have one-on-one time with different people.
Yeah.
But a lot of times that free information, it's like filling in the gaps of stuff like you can go out and also search. I've found that most information is free.
Yeah.
You just have to learn how to research and find it.
Yeah. And yeah, the free information is also learning how to repurpose it where eventually you're making a profit off of it too. Hi, YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so what you're saying too brought up a good point too. If there's a gap in the industry and you can't find content on it, put something together yourself and then put it out there because there's probably other people searching for the same thing that can't find that information. So if you put it together for other people and then put it up on different platforms, then in turn you're helping others find that information as well as helping yourself because you're getting that information from people. Yeah.
I always tell people like I pull information from everywhere. Like everything that I've learned has come from so many sources just because I seek information
Yeah.
24/7. Like that's who I am.
Mm.
And I never thought that that was of value to sell to people. But
Yeah.
what other people are doing are they see platforms like mine, they see what I do,
Yeah.
and they want to do what I do.
Yeah.
So instead of them having to go out and read the 300 books that I had to read to get the information,
Yeah.
I can present it in a way that's like, hey, if you are a life coach, if you're a content creator, if you're looking to do lives and all the stuff that I do,
Yeah.
here's all the information that I have to make it successful. And also bringing that community together, they
Yeah.
ask questions that I might not have the answer to, but I know how to find it faster.
Yeah.
And I also, that adds to my wealth again because they asked a question I didn't have the answer to. Now I'm going to search for it and then I will have it for the next person that asks.
Yeah.
So,
That's such a valuable thing too that you can offer people too is finding information for them and condensing it so that they get the information quicker. Because we live in a society now where everybody wants things so quickly. It's like, dude, if I don't get back to somebody right away, they're like, "Are you okay?" It's like, I didn't have my phone on me. Relax, people. Just because it's instant doesn't mean it's instant. So again, if you can condense information for people, you're probably going to attract a crowd that's they're going to want to follow you and they're going to want to learn from you because you're simplifying it where they don't have to go through 200 pages to get one answer. So
yeah. And that's with everything. Like people who are watching this, like that's everything. Don't think that we're only sharing this information to people who want to be content creators or actors and actresses. Like that's anything that you have as a craft or a skill, like you can literally like create a PDF of it. Like 12 steps for whatever. Like when it comes to like mental health stuff, like I crave people who put all of it in one little space for me to kind of sift through quickly because the quicker I can get through it, I can ask myself more questions and then seek out the answers. But if you can give me as many answers as you can in one PDF,
Yeah.
like that's really helpful. And I use that with a lot of stuff that I do when I work with clients. Like every new client has something new to bring to the table from me. And I'm not a blanket person. I don't like creating a program that I just hand over. So
Yeah.
at the end of each session,
Yeah.
I sit there and I write down all of their questions that they had, and then I create something for them
Yeah.
that I hand them in a PDF. And later, I still have that on file. The
Yeah.
next person that needs something similar, I'll adjust it a little bit to make it a little bit more broad or a little bit more specific to the new client.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still something that I've got in my wheelhouse now that I can sell or use
Yeah.
for the group of people.
That's a great tip too, to lead into. So if you're a person that's taking in all sorts of information all the time, uh, set up a way to turn it into a process. So I use Asana now. Every time I say Asana, people think I mean like a sauna, like I go sit in a sauna. I'm not sitting in a sauna. It's hot enough in Canada, people. So if you use Asana, the app, you can create what they call projects. Okay, so it's not necessarily a project, but it's like it's basically like a folder for all the steps that would like it would take to get there. I can't like my brain's going a million miles a minute, and my mouth doesn't want to catch up. So basically, what I've done is for everything that I do. So say for all the platforms I'm on, I will use Asana and I will create a project for that, and I will put in all the different things I'm on and the links to those things for logging in and the passwords and usernames in LastPass, and like just having all the information in one place. And I'll do that for everything, like my coffee chat, Instagram live thing. I have a process for that, and I have all the links and all the different so like you probably have a template for using for the covers for these.
Posters, yeah.
Yeah, so I will put like a link to the template for that in there. It's just a way to keep track of all your information in one spot, and I find it so useful. So I'm not going, okay, where did I put this file or where did I put that file? And it's all condensed in one spot. Like, okay, here's where that file is, right? Or here's what the link is. So if you're like us and you're constantly taking in a ton of information, I would use something like Asana, or Trello's a good one. Well, there used to be a Google one. What's the Google one? It's like a thing. I can't remember it right now. There's a whole bunch of different free apps that will help you keep, like, you can create projects and help you keep track of tasks and stuff. Like even Evernote is a good one that you can just create notes in and keep track of things. But it's just a good. Otherwise, you waste so much time going, where did I put that information, or where is this now, right? And it's productivity tips. Hey, people, productivity.
Yeah. And I mean, I try to look for things that function across all platforms.
Yeah.
Like if someone cancels a live and or needs to postpone it or change the time, like having a platform that only works on a computer would really mess me up. Where like if it works across all my platforms, I can quickly edit it on any platform. Even if I'm like out having lunch with someone, I can create something really quick on my phone and upload it really quickly. I have access to it on all devices. And the more that I've learned, like as mistakes have been made, I mean, I learned that sitting in my car, I have to be careful where I sit my phone to do a live, because if it's sitting in the sun, it'll overheat and kill my phone and turn it off. So like I've learned from all the different mistakes that I've made, and I just try to roll with it. The thing that I loved that KJ really focuses on is pivoting. Like getting good at that like is so essential to anyone that's trying to do something with their life that they don't have a huge team of people to fall back on. Like learning how to quickly pivot and accept that craziness will come. Chaos does present itself no matter how structured you try to be. But the more structure you can provide yourself and the more like fall back and safety nets you can just naturally put in that won't stress you out to create, it's really helpful, because things happen that knock me off and I quickly jump back on because I'm like, you know what? I learned from this the first time. I'm going to put a safety net here next time so that next time I don't fall back to zero. I only fall back to like 50. So
Yeah, I know we've been talking a lot about business and entrepreneurship and stuff, but for anything in life, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, if like you have a thing that you constantly need to do that you have to remember a whole bunch of steps for, write the steps out because there's going to be that one time you're like, oh, what did I do here? I can't remember what I did here to make this happen. And if you have those steps in place, it's going to save you so much time. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many people out there that become like mommy bloggers and stuff because they share
Yeah.
their successes with other moms. And like, you can easily do that. Like, share something that you like start at the PTA meetings. Like, say, hey,
Yeah.
what if we all brought like some successes to the table of like how we are successfully like during this pandemic and everyone having to be homeschooled, like parents were sharing success stories left and right, teachers were sharing success stories, and that benefits large audiences of people. And if you can like capitalize on that,
Yeah.
like sharing it with other school systems, sharing it with other countries,
Right.
like I just from being on Clubhouse, I have purposely asked questions that are broad enough to get input from people who are from all different walks of life, because something someone's doing in Norway might
Yeah.
be really useful to me over here in the United States, but I don't hear it because they're doing it over there and I don't have access to it.
Yeah.
But if I can put myself in a space that those people are willing to just openly talk,
Yeah.
it's going to be beneficial.
Exactly. And sometimes it's helpful to talking to people across the world because you learn different terminology for different things so that when you're searching for something that it's not coming up in your terminology, they're giving you a different word for it and it's like, oh, now I found the information. It's like
Yeah.
calling it the wrong thing. Like I learned that my butterscotch chips for my cookies are actually called morsels in England. It's like, oh, that's why people find them because they're not called chips over there; they're called morsels.
Yeah. And that's just adding more and more to your like toolkit when it comes to like searching. Like I have gotten so good at searching for answers because I don't like to pay for things that I can get for free. And the more I learn, like there are actual websites that you can use that like I use a tool that if I see another YouTuber creating something that's similar to mine, there's a tool that you can literally copy and paste their YouTube video URL, put
Okay.
it into their search engine, and
Yeah.
it'll tell you everything that they use to tag that video, all the different brands that they've worked with. Like it literally just takes some YouTuber that is successful and shows you all the different things that they're using. So you can be like, oh, I've never heard of that. What
Yeah.
is that? Do a little bit of research. Wow, that's a great tool. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah, I just started using one this week. It's called TubeBuddy, um, and it helps you. It helps you with your own videos too, right? Because it shows you where you're lacking in like search engine optimization. I was gonna say SEO, but I'm not sure people would understand me who are on here. So if you know what SEO is, search engine optimization, if you are using YouTube, um, TubeBuddy, Video IQ, I think has one too. There's a whole bunch of them, but they show you your own video where you need to add in things to get found, as well as if you go over to like other people's platforms, like Ben was saying, and use this tool, it'll show you what they're doing for theirs, so that you could just like copy and paste their tags for search engine optimization. I wouldn't suggest just copy and pasting their tags because some of the tags might be specific, but it shows what they're doing and what they're using to get found. And some are just popular and they just get found because they're popular. So
Yeah. Anytime that you can tag yourself to like latch onto their like momentum, like
yeah,
so important. Because like in the course that I was taking today, they say like momentum multiplies with momentum. So once you get into momentum, keep it going because it only keeps going faster and faster.
uh,
And you can take advantage of someone else's success, even if you're jumping in and attaching your like lifeboat to their like jet ski or anything, like that will help you out. And I think that too often in the world, we think that when we have something that's like gold, we hold on to it and protect it from the world
yeah,
when what we really should be doing is sharing, because when you share success, like other people will then gain success from that and want to share success with you where you may be lacking, but they're like succeeding in. And when you start doing that, even if it's like, hey, like I created this PDF. Like, I'm like putting it out there. I'm selling it for 20 bucks for people who are interested in learning this skill.
Yeah.
Like, that type of thing benefits you,
Mhm.
while also that gets your name out there, because put it in there, make it a non-editable PDF, so where when people start sharing it with their friends, at least your name's at the top of it saying, hey, I'm the one who created this amazing document for you to share of whatever skill set you're trying to sell there. And I think that people need to realize I was giving so much away for free. And I also, and this is something that KJ and I talked about in our live when we did a
Yeah.
pub talk, was a lot of times I
Yeah.
have amazing ideas and
Mhm.
I'll tell people that it's someone else's
Yeah.
because I feel like for some reason my name on this wasn't validating enough for someone to take it and be like, wow, this is really
Yeah.
useful. So I'll be like, oh, well, I was talking to a friend of mine and there was no friend. Like,
Yeah.
that was my work, but I gave someone else credit for it, didn't put a name on it, but I didn't take it as my own because I felt like my name wasn't valid enough for someone to respect the work that I was handing them.
Yeah.
And it's so important to not do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that comes in confidence too, right? And confidence is always like a work in progress, I find. Because I used to do that too, like, oh yeah, I heard this from so and so, or yeah. But now it's like, oh yeah, I came up with this thing, hey. And then lately I've been like, oh, like I know somebody who could use this. And like a friend of mine was trying to grow her YouTube channel, and I figured out how to create like a subscribe notification animation in Canva. So I made her one. I'm like, here you go. Here's something to help you. And even doing things like that, yes, I'm giving it away for free, but at the same time, I'm helping out a friend and I'm creating connections. And if you'll learn in life that your network is your net worth in life. Like the people you surround yourself with are usually the ones that are going to be there with you throughout your entire life. So if you can help them out, go ahead. But again, if you have a business, if you're giving everything away for free, then you hobby. I
Yeah.
don't have a business anymore for marketing where now I'm just sharing what I know. I used to have a business for marketing and I don't want to, I say I don't want to teach marketing anymore, Ben, but then I'm still teaching marketing. Okay. I don't want to have a business teaching marketing, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything I know and I'm going to put it on YouTube. And if you want to know what I know, there it is. And eventually it'll be monetized and we'll be making a little bit of money anyways. But I'd rather just help people with that because my focus right now is just sharing my knowledge and growing like the acting side and the side where I want to help charities and stuff. So that's my focus. So the marketing side is like, okay, here's all the information packed into my brain for 17 years. It's now here. Like, here you go.
Downloaded it onto this chip right here for your use.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Sometimes you get to that point though, right? Where it's like, okay, I was selling this thing, but I don't really want to sell it anymore, but I still feel like it'd be valuable to people. So sometimes then that's when you're like, okay, I'm just going to put it here and then people still have access to the information, even though I don't want to sell it anymore, if that makes sense, right? And that's what I'm doing with the YouTube thing is like, I don't want to sell my email marketing course anymore, but the information is still really valid and can still really help people. So I'm re-editing it and putting it on YouTube where eventually it'll still make a little bit of money from the ads, but then I don't have to go through all the process of trying to sell it on automation anymore and advertising it and putting it on Pinterest and this and that. And it's helping people. So you have to, I guess what I'm trying to say is you have to figure out what your business goals are and what you really want to focus on and what you want to put the time into and make sure you are being profitable if you have a business because again, if you're not making money, it's a hobby.
yeah. And I think that just knowing your worth and knowing what you want to put your time in, because time is money, time is
Yep.
valuable because we only get so much before we no longer have time to spend here on earth.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And just
for
to touch on that too, I want to just retract on something I said. Okay, when I say if you're not making money in your business, then it's a hobby. Most businesses don't make money right away. So like, just yeah.
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 I mean, for me, like, I started this platform, I started my Positive Talks, I started my YouTube channel with no intention behind a business at all. It was something that I really enjoyed doing. And I saw other content creators doing it and making money, but I never sat here and started my videos with like, my intention is to remain a YouTuber until it's my sole income. Like, I never thought that that was really possible. I thought it was cool that other people were doing it.
Yeah,
Like we were saying at the beginning, the 1%. But like, I continued doing it because it was what I really loved doing.
yeah,
And the more I did it and the longer I did and the more connections that I made, the more information I found about how I could turn it into a profitable thing. And some things like my Instagram lives, Instagram reached out to me and they're like, hey, we're starting a new rollout of, we're going to start paying content creators with incentives, and they
yeah,
add the badges to the lives, which is really cool. But all of this stuff, I was doing what I was passionate about.
yeah,
And the world started bringing in their like, hey, you can get paid by this. Hey, keep doing what you love and we're going to monetize this for you. And
yeah,
that was very beneficial to me, because now when I do something that I really love and that I think really adds value to the world,
yeah,
now there is revenue coming in for doing that. Wasn't the reason I did it, but
yeah,
it's nice to kind of have that, because it
yeah,
just validates that I am doing something that is worth getting paid for.
yeah,
Because I think the world needs it. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I know it adds
yeah,
like benefits to the world. Uh, but it is kind of nice to have a platform like Instagram, and of course YouTube's been
yeah,
doing the like payment stuff for a while with their ad revenue and all of that. But it's really cool to have built a platform like that I have now, and
yeah,
have brands say, hey, we want to make you a partner. We want to pay you to post and do lives with us. And I'm like, yeah, that's great.
yeah,
And it's helped me get more business minded when
yeah,
it other people reaching out and wanting to do stuff,
yeah,
because I had colleges asking me to give speeches to like their freshmen and different organizations on their campus.
yeah.
And one of them, they're like, so how much do you charge? I'm like,
Charge? What?
what? I don't know what you're talking about. But now, like, that came up and presented itself to me, and I'm like, oh, how? What does an influencer charge for this? And I start talking to more people on Clubhouse and other platforms, and they're like, yeah, this is generally what I would charge. These are the things that you can look at your algorithms and stuff on your page to determine what an hourly rate would be for you.
Yeah,
And it like opened my world to a whole new thing, to where I can ask for money for the things that I do and I love. It doesn't just have to be a hobby. Like, you can do work that you absolutely love and
yeah.
get paid for doing it, and you shouldn't feel bad about it.
Yeah, that's a really good point too. And that right there, I feel is success. So you're doing something you love. So many people get stuck in doing things just to make money. And there's this other thing in the back that they really want to do, but they can't figure it out. And I feel more people need to go and figure it out, because if they can figure it out and go be happy besides making money, then that's what I feel like real success is. Success is happiness. Success isn't necessarily money, but when you become happy, then the money seems to start coming in, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's scary because like I'm used to having that like one paycheck from a corporate job and having healthcare attached to it.
Oh, yeah.
And for me, like now I've got revenue coming from all different directions, which really requires me to take note and really be aware,
Oh, yeah.
because making future plans, travel plans, like all of that will require my revenue and income to be managed and known. But like,
Yeah.
it's so interesting because like I'm
Mhm.
putting myself out there in ways I've never done before, but
Yeah.
I'm putting myself out there in a way that I want to put myself out there. I'm not doing it because I want a business to come up to me and ask to sign. I'm doing me, the most authentic me that feels right. And
Yeah.
businesses are coming because I'm doing that. And I think that a lot of people would really benefit from
Yeah.
really projecting exactly what they want. And there are so many people I talk to, like I'm a coach. I literally have to try so hard not to coach every single person that talks to me, because there are people where I'm just like, oh, I thought you like went to school for music. And they're like, oh, it's kind of a hobby now.
Yeah.
Do you want it to be a hobby, or like do you really love what you're doing now and music really did take the hobby
Yeah.
route in your life? because there's so many people who throw away what would really bring them joy. And be aware that this is what you're teaching your children. Like you're showing your children that it's okay to throw your passions out and take a job that you don't really like just because it's money. And so many people do that, when what you should show your children is like, hey, even though I'm taking this job right now to pay for what we need to survive, like I am still going to show my passion the right amount of attention so it doesn't burn out, and so that you have something that's adding happiness into my life as well.
Money is, I feel like money gets a bad rap, and I feel like a lot of people need to work on their relationship with money. And like for example, my brother, he had an assistant manager position at a company, great company, but he was just unhappy. And he took a pay cut to go to a different job, and now he's more happy. So like, it doesn't necessarily equal happiness. That's what people need to realize. So if you're taking something just for the money, realize that you might pay for it in your happiness. And I'd rather have people happy than wealthy. Again, it's nice to have both. I'm not saying that you can't.
Yes.
But it's finding that thing that creates both, right? And not just taking something because of the money, if that makes any sense. So it's finding a thing that makes you happy and then figuring it out how to monetize it so that you can have both. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the relationship that you have with money is so important. And my friend Garland and her friend Susan actually do a like relationship with money room in Clubhouse that I've jumped in a couple times. And they talk about like the way you think about money. Like if you're taking the job because money is a necessity and money is driving it in a negative way because you don't have that attitude towards money is easily accessible. Because I had to learn that there is a billion paths, like we talked about. Like you can get to whatever you want. It might not be the same route that the car in front of you just took, but it's going to be a route that you need to take. And maybe you have to take this route over here because there's something you need to learn on that route to get to your goal. That this person that took the one in front of you that just closed, they already had that. They learned on another route down the road, their path. And if money is what is driving you, like money is not a career. Like money is not like a passion. Like what is the passion, and then attach that to money and don't hate it. Like there's so much trauma passed down by money from our parents and their parents, and their like the lack passes down as a trauma that becomes the relationship that our kids have with money. And I think that it's important to realize that that's something that can be passed down and realize so that you can heal that relationship.
Yeah, like my money trauma didn't happen until I was in my 20s, and it wasn't from my parents, it was from my ex screwing me over. So it can develop later in life too, but it's recognizing the stories you're telling yourself about money, no matter where it developed in your life, and dealing with those and recognizing that money is actually a tool that can be used to do things. It's not bad. Like money's not bad. It's not bad to have money. It's not bad to want money. But at the same time, if you're only focused on that, if you're living in the lack, you're going to attract more lack. We're getting into the universe stuff right now, people. But it's true, right? Like if you're constantly focused on the fact that I have no money, how am I going to pay my bills tomorrow? You get stuck in this horizontal negative lack thinking, and that's what you're attracting, because we are bioelectric beings, right? We are electricity. We have electricity that runs through our body. If your heart stops, what do? They shock you. So like you're giving off the energy of negativity in that thing, that's what you're going to attract back in. So when you stop focusing on lack and you focus on all the abundance in your life, like just look for abundance anywhere. If you find a penny, you won't find one in Canada. They took those suckers away. Or if you find a nickel, wherever you are, write it down. Like if you get a coupon for something, write that down. Like start writing down everything you find, whether or not it's like a value, like you got a free thing, or you got a coupon for something, or you earned points for something. write all that down and start looking for the abundance everywhere, because once you start seeing that abundance, that's when it starts coming in more, right? Yeah.
And even abundance and like compliments,
Yeah.
like when someone compliments something you've worked hard on, that is an abundance. That's receiving something good. And that, like, when you start focusing on those types of things,
Yeah.
that like you realize, and then you can also realize that you've got a bank full of things to put out into the world as well. Like,
Yeah. If you're looking for an app, there's actually an app that you can use to track all this types of stuff, and you can create like different categories where it's the lucky uh, Instagram, don't censor me. It's the lucky app. Okay. So if you go into the app store, it's the Lucky Bitch app, and you can create categories, and there's like different little icons and stuff where like it's a value, or if it's from somebody, or if it's a monetary thing. And you can keep track of all the abundance every month that you're getting, and like take a look at it. I started using that app a few years ago, and it's a great app if you're looking to track the abundance in your life so that you can start seeing it everywhere. Yeah. But,
yeah.
yeah. Instagram.
And you can create that type of energy for yourself. Like, it's so interesting because like I read like the Think Like a Monk book by Jay Shetty, and the very end, which a lot of people don't get to if they're not good at completing books, but he talks about like the greatest gift is the gift of service.
Yeah.
And that's where your joy comes from. And I've learned that giving compliments. So like I walk around places because I love making people smile.
Yeah.
And that throws so much positivity back into
Yeah.
me that then I'm full. Like I have tons of, and even in really shitty days, like maybe I had a really bad experience. Like even on the day when I found out that I lost my corporate job,
Yeah.
like when I went out, like I was still like, I really like your shoes. Like, and people are like, oh my God, I just got them. And like that joy that
Yeah.
compliment gave them, even though I was
Yeah.
very down,
Yeah.
the joy that she had and the excitement that she had to explain where she got them, like instantly boosted my spirits. And then I felt better, even though it was
Yeah.
not the best day. I felt a little bit better than had I just walked around and done nothing.
Right. No, that's a good point. I love that you mentioned books too, because I forgot that Lucky Bitch. God, Instagram. I'm so name. Lucky Bitch, Denise Duffield Thomas. She actually has a book that walks through all like the money limiting stories and everything that I read a few years ago. It's a really good book. And then that's where I found about that app. Another one, if you're looking for money stuff, is Jim Fortin. He's got a really great podcast. I think Michael, who's on here, I think Michael follows him too. Jim Fortin's really great if you're looking for mindset stuff, money stuff, entrepreneur stuff, all like reprogramming mindset stuff. He's really great. Those are my two resources. I know Ben's probably has way more. Those are the two that I use.
I was going to say, let me just turn my camera real quick and just cycle through the 360 of books I have, because there's just so many different things. And it's so interesting because as I'm starting to grow, like I'm starting to connect with these authors that once upon a time just seemed like someone far away in a land that I would never get to, writing books that they get to sprinkle their knowledge down to people like us. And I'm starting to connect with these authors, and like the energy that they have, it's just like this pure like energy that just feeds everyone around them. And like I have learned to just surround myself with those types of people. And like of course KJ had her book that she put out a song that like anytime like I'm feeling low, like that song, like I sit there and I start playing it, I'm like, I got this, I love this. And just surrounding yourself is so important. And like the people who create that type of stuff have a type of energy that is really beneficial. So don't just read their book, follow them, like at any platform that they exist on, because it's constant, it's coming out all the time.
If you have the option to create a playlist, create a motivational playlist, because I did that for myself and I sent it to my best friend. I'm like, hey, if you need a pick me up, put this on. And it's like a playlist of like 60 songs, but they're all like pump up songs, right? That gets you motivated. Michael, there's a heart in the middle of my forehead right now that you put, really distracting me.
I love it. Good comments.
Create a playlist that pumps you up. Create different playlists based on what you're doing, right? Because music is such a good motivator depending on your situation. So Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've got playlists for almost everything that so like I have like the breakup playlist that's there to like just pump me back up and be like, I don't need no man. Uh, I've got like the like for me personally, like there's tons of songs that I listen to that like encourage me to be a strong independent figure in the world, to go out there and make change in the world that needs it so bad. And I'll sit there and just like jam out to that. And there's ones that remind me to like not let a moment pass by without appreciating that moment. And every single time like I need those songs, like
Yeah.
they're push play. Like I don't drive as much anymore, which I've learned. Like I started to kind of start to feel down, and I realized I wasn't listening to my podcast, I wasn't listening to audiobooks, and I wasn't listening to my positive music
Right.
because that was my car time. And like now I'm like, you know what? I need to make that time still exist because that was what was kind of boosting me up.
Yeah.
Positive talks are great, but they only last for an hour a day. So like I try to add other things like while I'm sitting here on my computer now, I can still play music in the background if it's not distracting.
Uh, I love that. And I think like the last thing, I don't know how much time we have. Instagram. I just want to leave people too with a thought that if you're in a position where you're going after something and you're having a rough time and you're at the point where you want to give up or you think it's not going to happen for you, just hold on that little bit further, because that's the point where you have to make a choice. You have a choice in everything you do, even if you don't think you have a choice. You actually do. In every situation, even if you feel you don't have a choice, you have a choice. It may not be a choice you like, and that's why we tend to think that we don't have a choice, but we do have a choice. So you got to hold on a little bit further, because usually the thing that you're waiting to happen happens on the other side of you not giving up. And sometimes what you're going through that you're not giving up on, you need to go through in order to learn the lesson to get to that thing that you're going to get to. Wow, that was like a whole run-on sentence, people.
No, I completely agree because I've told people that there's been a lot of people that have been given success or powers of position without going through some of the struggles that some others go through to get there. And they didn't learn what they needed to learn to be successful in that position. Like I can take someone right out of high school and put them in a position of power, but if they didn't learn the things that they needed to be an adult and function, like you can fail up here too. Like don't look at someone who's gained something quickly and easy and be like, man, I wish I had that. Because a lot of times they're going to be hit with some things that you will never have to deal with because you learned it in a slow way. Like in today's world, I feel bad for some Instagrammers and TikTokers that instantly go viral because, God, like going from all your friends and families posting lovely comments on your stuff and then go viral and getting all the hate. You wake up one morning and you've got millions of hate comments. That's a lot to process for someone. And it's important for you to realize that the journey is just as important as the goals that you set for yourself, because you're learning things that you need once you get to the other side of that pushing through that you were talking about.
Yeah, and so many people don't realize that, right? Like, oh my God, they're so lucky they have 4 million followers. Like, you don't understand the pressure of having a large following and the anxiety that sometimes comes up thinking that you're going to get mean people in your comments and you're going to deal with them. So we always want what we don't have, right? And then we get there, it's like, oh, the grass really isn't greener over here, right? So go water your own grass. But I understand what you're talking about, because I hit like 11,500 followers. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Like, okay, people. Even like 11,000, like I gained 500 followers in 1 month. I'm like, I'm not ready to be this popular. Like, on one side, I'm like, okay, cool, like that's awesome. And on the other side, it's like a panic attack. Like, I'm not ready for this. So it's baby steps that you need to go through so that you can be ready. It's like the people that win the lottery that are broke a year later because they weren't ready to handle that much money. Great, they won the lottery, but at the same time, they didn't have the skill set to manage the money. And if you do get thrown into a position like that, then it's almost like you need to hit like pause, okay, and go learn the things you need to learn to manage the situation you just got put into. And a lot of they're floundering and they don't figure it out, right? So that's a skill set in itself. Is if you get thrown into a situation that you don't know how to handle it, is hitting pause for a second and going and taking the time to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, how you spend money when you have $1 is the same of how you spend money when you've got $1 million. And being able to wisely do that, I always tell people like who you are, why you post, and what you do right now at 0 followers is going to be the same person that you would if you instantly had 1 million followers today. So make sure that who you are is a valuable person and you're learning lessons from things, because like I've learned so much from my slow growth that I've had, and
Yeah.
I've enjoyed it, and I'm thankful for it, because God, I wouldn't want some of the mistakes I made at like 50, 100 followers to be the mistakes that I made now that I have a large following, that as soon as I post something, like
Yeah.
hundreds of people see it instantly. And I'm like, oh gosh, that's rough.
Yeah.
But it's so important. The journey is important. And I always say, try to learn something new every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes to do that, you have to try new things every day. And that's
Yeah.
important, helpful.
And don't buy into people's bull crap.
You are part of the 1%.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
Yeah. Even today, I was on a Clubhouse, and there was this manager guy. I'm not gonna say names because I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. But they're like, "Oh, your professional acting account. You shouldn't like put up like a picture of you drinking wine." It's like, if I put up a picture of me drinking a glass of wine, I would be like, "Yeah, Jen. Okay, you think I can relate to that?" Because they'd be like, good for you, right? I can relate to that. I had a glass of wine too. I can understand not putting up pictures of you partying your face off, drunk escapades. Okay, I get that. Okay, because that doesn't really belong in a professional account. Okay, that belongs on your personal account with your close friends. That's private. Okay, I understand the fact, but to make the analogy of putting up a picture of you drinking a glass of wine, I didn't agree with. You should still be able to be yourself, be in the public, be professional, and be relatable. Okay, because if I like completely hide every aspect of my life and only put up a picture of me in, his analogy was sitting in the park at a picnic, but don't show the glass of wine you're drinking. Why?
Oh, see, that's like a person, and this is like one of the things that I noticed when I was like reading Donald Trump's book,
Yeah.
which not a fan of him, but he assumes that his route and his way of success is the way everyone will succeed. And it sounds like that person, alcohol might be something that he isn't too keen on seeing. Maybe he's got his own struggles with that. But don't assume that your success or something that maybe was a flop for you, this is why you don't pass fears and stuff on to children or friends or people who are trying the same thing as you. Just because, like, yeah, maybe someone commented on his post and was like, oh, alcoholic. But that does not mean that everyone else will ever think that way. So, like, when people give that type of advice, I'm just like, yeah, thank you for taking up some space with those words, but not everyone's going to make your type of judgment on a glass of wine in a picture. Like, I look at that and I'd be like, I wonder what she's drinking. Like, I'll have to ask her.
I recommend a good red. But no, it was the way he said it, where it was that you weren't going to get hired if you put up a picture like that. It's like, that makes absolutely no sense.
But there are young people who will hear that and believe that.
Yeah, so again,
it's dangerous.
Not buying into people's bull crap, okay? Create your own path, as Ben and I have been talking about. Find your own way, find your own directions around the detour that you're running into. And just, again, there's more than one way to get there. Okay, and just because somebody says something that it's going to happen one way or it can't happen this way, it doesn't mean that's true. So it's finding your way. And the Rock story is a great example of that. If nobody's checked out the Rock story, so
yeah, I was on Clubhouse probably the first week that I got in, and I got into a room with a manager who manages a YouTuber that I really look up to, and I've gotten to meet her and her husband, and I love them. His advice was not great. He scrolled through my platforms and tore it apart. And he tore apart the essence of who I was and told me that I couldn't and I wouldn't grow being who I was. And he was just like really tearing into my
Yeah.
heart and soul. And while I was sitting there, I was like, well, he must have some type of
Yeah.
validation. He must be right in some way.
Yeah.
But I had to step back and be like, okay, whatever he's viewing is through something else, because I have grown very quickly and have a very well connected community. But he was like looking at stuff and he's like, you share too much of your friends' posts. Your page should be only about you. You shouldn't promote other people on your page. That will detract, that will lessen your algorithms. And it actually took me like analyzing his words and then going back to look.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case. Like, I don't know where he got his information from, but it wasn't the case. And I was just like, well, thank you for your information. But that's not
Yeah.
what's worked for me. And that's just an example of maybe he's studied too closely of one person that he manages and
Yeah.
they had success following this route. But
Yeah.
that does not mean that that will ever be the route that brings me to success. That would have destroyed my brand, destroyed me as a person, and made creating content horrible and painful for me. So I was just like, you know what? Thank you. But I love what I do and I'm seeing results from it. So I'm going to continue doing me. And I'll just say thank you for the time, but that's not going to work for me.
Yeah, I think what we need to remember is that when people are crapping on us, it's coming from their own stories and beliefs, and it has nothing to do with you. And no matter what industry you're in, instead of trying to fit into the mold of the industry, find your place in the industry, create your own place in the industry. Because, again, The Rock's a great example of this. He didn't fit the norm of the industry. He created his own place in the industry. Rebel Wilson didn't fit the norm of being an action hero, but she's been in action movies and stuff, right? Just create your own place. Make yourself, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, man.
Make yourself unique and standing out. Like, I think that
Yeah,
so long as children, as teenagers, we feel the need to fit in and blend in, but we're meant to stand out and be unique and different. Celebrate your uniqueness and difference, and the world will begin to celebrate it with you. Sometimes you have to start saying yay me by yourself, but like as you do that, like the world will start to see that and celebrate it with you. Like it's not a lone party forever. Like I always tell this story because when I was little, my family threw a party for me and they went all out. They bought like a karaoke guy to come out and do it. They had a band, they had catering, and one person showed up. One friend showed up to my whole thing. And then my most recent birthday party that I hosted last year,
yeah,
it was in the middle of a pandemic, but August was a really low year for me. And I just posted on Facebook. I was like, hey, I really need some like time with my friends.
yeah,
Like, it's something that I need right now. And tons of them showed up. And I cried because I was standing on the same place where all that stuff was set up
yeah,
and one person showed up. And I was standing there looking at friends that I had collected my entire life. And I was so anxious leading up to that day because I was afraid that they weren't all going to like each other because none of these people knew each other before my party. And what I realized was I've been my authentic self, so I've naturally attracted people that
yeah,
are similar to me. So therefore, all my friends from all over, they were the same energy that all my other friends were. And it was like the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. Like so many times, like I was seeing friends from all different parts of my life just laughing and having a good time that I was just like crying happy tears. And I was just like, you know what? Like at that point,
yeah,
I was a one person party, but now like I've got so many people that love me and
yeah,
celebrate what I do, and
yeah,
I'm so thankful for it. And that one party,
yeah,
like I can reflect back on that and be so thankful for where I am now. And I'm still friends with my one friend that came to my party, which I was still very thankful for at that time.
that's amazing. I love that. Yeah, I guess the whole message is that we've been trying to get across to you is just show up. Show up as your authentic self. Don't worry what other people say because it's your up. Just just be you and be happy, because there's no point in trying to fit into a box and being miserable.
Exactly. Whoever you are, your most authentic self, the world needs. There are people out there that need you to show up as you 100%. Don't settle for being in a room that tries to tell you you're not worth the time or space. Like, there's a room out there that needs you to be there right now.
Yeah.
Stop hanging out in the one that doesn't need you, because those people won't be deserving of you and the efforts that you put out there.
Yeah.
So go out into the world and find that stage that you're supposed to be on, because they're
Yeah.
waiting for you to perform.
Yeah. And if somebody tells you that you're not like everyone else, take that as the biggest compliment.
Thank you. Awesome.
Going for being me.
Exactly. So I see that we've gone almost 30 minutes over. So I just want to say thank you so much for doing this. I absolutely loved this discussion, and I loved that like none of it was super planned. This was like we just let the conversation go, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. No, this was awesome conversation. I hope everyone got value out of it. Thank you both. Michael, I'm so glad you commented. It finally moved the heart off my
I took a screenshot of it, of you sitting there smiling with the heart just like right here.
It's like it's been here like this for like the past 20 minutes.
It's best. Awesome. Well, I will let you go so that you can have a good rest of your day, but definitely stay connected, and I'm looking forward to see what you do with your platforms.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you do too. You've been putting out lots of amazing stuff. My followers, if you're on here right now, go follow Ben too. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye. You too.